Hi, John here, and this is Up for Excel. And today I'm going to be talking chart formatting, and we're going to go from a basic chart with something like we've got on the screen at the moment, and we're going to end up with something that looks like this, which is infinitely more presentable. So I could talk you through all the different elements of formatting charts, some tips and tricks along the way, loads to go through, so let's get on with it. So we're going to start with some absolute basic data, and I'm just going to highlight that using some keyboard shortcuts, which you'll see on your screen, and then Alt F1 is going to give me an instant chart on the screen that we can then use. So I'm just going to position this for you, make it a little bit larger, perhaps not quite that large, and I'm actually going to produce another one. So I'm going to highlight the exact same area, do another chart, and so that we've got a little reminder down there of what it used to look like before we improved it. First thing we're going to do is clean up the chart axes and grid lines. Okay. So I'm just going to take Excel off of full screen here so we can see the toolbars. And when I click on the chart, you're going to see that we have some chart toolbars up here. First one being design. I've done an entire video going through all the different aspects of chart design. So if you want a reminder on that, or you want to go through that, check out my previous video on those. So today we're going to be focused mainly on the format toolbar and all the different aspects of this. So as I said, first thing we're going to do, clean up the chart. So one thing that can make a chart look cleaner straight away is removing some of the axes and grid lines. Now, of course, the moment you do that, you need to make some modifications to the chart so you can see what kind of value things are. So first off, I'm just going to click. There's several ways you can do this actually to remove the axes. If you actually click on the axes, now if you click on, if you click on the axes, you can just hit the delete key and that will remove them instantly. But if I just undo that a second, one thing you can do is you can say, on the design page, actually add a chart element. You can say go to axes, and you can just grid lines. Where's grid lines? And you can remove them by just clicking an option on there. So that is another way. So I've taken those off. Right. I'm actually going to remove the axes as well. So I can either, again, click straight on it and hit the delete key, and that will do that. But we're going to undo that at the moment. Or, again, add chart elements, axes, and you just, the one that you want to get rid of, you just highlight and click. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is move around the titles and position our legend and things like that. We've got a legend at the moment, it's down here. So we can click on legend and we can move that to the top. I think that's a preferable place to have it. So we'll do that right now. And I'm going to add a chart title. Now, the interesting tip on this, if we can manually type in here anything we like. So we can type in sales and profit, for example. That's fine. But if we want to have a title on screen, company sales and profit, we can actually dynamically link this title here by just putting that it equals that cell and hitting enter. And that way, if we want to modify the chart title at any point in time, we can just type straight into here. So we can say company X, for example, and you'll see that that appears on the chart. So bonus tip there. Right, so we're going to say, we'll actually just go back to saying it's called sales and profit. So we'll move that into the center, and I'm going to make the font size much, much larger and bolder. And I'm also going to increase the size of that and make it bold, legend, and position that centrally as well. Okay, right. While we're at it, I think we will format that. So again, we can make that bold. We can increase the size of the font. I don't like the way this axis is showing at the moment with the year and a hyphen and QTR1, so Q1 2017, for example. If you remember what I'm aiming for, which is this, I want this to sort of wrap on top of each other. Now, even if I wrap the text on here and do something like that and move it around, it doesn't, even though it's linked, it doesn't wrap on the chart, which is a little bit unfortunate. What I'm going to do is just put a quick formula in here to manipulate this text and then make this my new axis so that I can use it on my chart. Now, this is going to look like overkill because I've only got eight columns on my chart. But if I've got numerous data points, perhaps I'm plotting a time series or something, I might have, you know, hundreds of data points. This sort of formula can help immensely because it can save a lot of time. So I'm just going to quickly do that and I'll briefly explain what I've done afterwards. The formula in here, just to briefly explain, these ampersand symbols are basically merging the various different parts of the text together within the formula. So I'm saying Q, and I'm using the right formula to pick up the first character from the right in that cell, which is obviously going to be the quarter number. So that's going to lead me to say Q, in this case 1. Char 10 is, it allows you to access special characters that you wouldn't be able to type normally. And char, well, the character number 10 is actually a carriage return. So that will mean that we'll insert a new row, start a new row, and then the left 4 characters in the text is the year. So that's how that formula is working. And all I've done is positioned it down here. So now I want to, that has unfortunately extended my chart somewhat. So I'm just going to put all this back so we can get it on screen. So I'm now going to change the data so that it picks up for the axes. Instead of our original, I'm just going to change that. So I'm going to put edit and I'm going to change it to that. So I'm going to do that. That's OK. Hit OK on there. And I'm going to move that up. And you can see now that it's automatically wrapping that text because we've got that carriage return built into the actual text within there. Now, of course, if you wanted to do that manually, you can go in here, click on where you want the new line to start and press Alt Enter, and that will give you a similar effect. And you can see on the original chart now. So that's how you would do the same thing manually if you're not into building these sorts of formulas. Right. We're now actually going to add some data labels onto these bars in our chart so we can actually understand what on earth it is we're looking at. So you click back on the chart, go to design. We're going to add some, like I said, data labels. And I'm going to pick ones that say inside the end. Right. So I'll click on that. So that certainly is a total mess. I'm sure you'll agree. Not something we want to be looking at. So we'll click on the series there. And then over on this side of the screen, you can see we have various options on how we can format this. Now, the one thing that we really need to sort out is the number. So at the moment, it's a general format, and we could use, say, a number format. with no decimal places. If we do that straight away, that's a small improvement. But I actually want to use a custom number format on here. And I pre-entered this custom number format. And the one we're going to use is one to show something in millions. And the way that you do that is it put these commas into your into the number format, and every time you put a comma but put nothing in between, it says, well, I'm not going to show the next 3 numbers. So if I wanted to do the same with thousands, and I've pre-done this one, you could do something like this, where you're effectively saying show the number with just have 1 comma on the end with nothing after it, which means don't show the last 3 like the last 3 digits. But like I say, we're going to use this M1 and the format code of that. Like I say, we've got 2 commas saying show in millions, but the 0.0 means that we're going to show 1 decimal place on that. So that's our format for that. So we'll do that, but we also want it to be bold, so we can use the main menu for that. Maybe up the font size. I think we'll colour it in white, and you'll see in a minute why. Now, out of interest, you would think that you'd be able to do a format paint and just click on there, but for some strange reason it really doesn't work. I mean, it gets the colour, but it doesn't get the number format right. So unfortunately, you've pretty much got to do it manually. Tip number 4 is getting the chart type right. So straight away, we'll want to change this chart type because it's not appropriate. Now, we could pick all manner of different chart types, but the one I want to focus on today is a stacked column chart. So I will instantly change it to that. Now, there's a couple of things straight away about that I don't like. Firstly, I want the profit figure, which is the one in orange on that chart, to be at the bottom. So I need to change the order here. So if I click on select data again and click on the profit entry and move it up so that it's the first one being plotted rather than the second, and you can see straight away that has done that. The other thing that I would like is much wider bars on this chart. You can click on any series, and what we need to do is go to the series options and change the gap width. Now we can do that over here, but we can also do that by selecting format selection on anything from this drop down box here. Right, so the gap width, we can just test this by moving it around. Now we could experiment with other charts, but I think that looks pretty good. We've got our numbers showing through. So yeah, it's looking good. Tip number 6 is all about colours and highlighting. So we can on here just change the colours of our chart quite simply, for example, because we can select the series, say series profit, for example, and then we can change the colour to anything we like on the palette here. So we could do it like that. Or we could, once the series is selected, we could go over here, go to the colour palette. We can say that we've just changed the colour by using this drop down. So I'm going to use up here. I'm going to say that we're going to go with a light blue, say perhaps that, and leave that one as dark blue. Now I've decided now that the white text here on the legend probably doesn't look as good, so we'll change that to black by going to there and just changing it to, well, automatic. That would be fine. I now think actually as well we could increase the font size on this somewhat. You just need to be a little bit careful here. Make the chart slightly bigger. There we go. That probably looks about right. I think these ones can probably up ever so slightly as well. Same with those. Right. Yeah, that's looking good. And also, I don't think we need this axis line on the bottom any longer. So what we're now going to do is go to Format, select the horizontal axes, and then this time we're going to change the line style. So if we go to here, and instead of the fill we select the line and we say no line. Okay, and now when we just click back on the main chart, you can see we've got no line. As you can see, we're moving closer to something that looks perhaps like this. Now, this particular bar has in the center, Q4 2017, has the highest sales. So I thought it would be quite nice to show that highlighted as having the highest sales. So we can do that. I'm going to do that manually in this video, but in one of my next videos, you'll be seeing how you can all do this dynamically. So whichever bar appears to be the highest sales, it will automatically, you can get it to automatically change color. Right, so if you select a series, which we'll do there, the mouse, and then you click again, you'll highlight an individual column. And then it's simply a case of changing the color of this particular column. So I'm going to make this one green. So I'm going to go with a dark green there. And then of course this now, the one underneath, I want to make a lighter green. So I'll make it like that. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. Now this particular one here has the highest profit. So I'm going to highlight this one in a different color again, just so you can see it. So that one, we're going to make that one yellow, and the one underneath, 2 clicks again there. I'll make that the lighter yellow. We're going to start using some shapes and potentially even pictures in a chart to highlight various things. So if you have another look at where we're going with this, this is what I want to end up with. And the key difference between this and what we've got right now are these rounded corners on the edge. And I think that just gives it that little bit of a different look that just creates a bit more standout than your standard block chart here. So how do we do that? Well, it's actually very simple. All we do is we insert a shape, and this could be any shape, but the one we're going to pick for this purpose is a rectangle with the top corners rounded off. So we're going to insert that in here. We'll get it looking roughly how we want to look, right? It just so happens that it's picked the colour we wanted. But over on the right hand side, you can see we have this shape formatting. So we could pick all different things. So for example, we could have a gradient fill on this of some kind. All manner of different types of things here. But I'm just going to pick for now a solid fill. No transparency on it at all, but I don't want a line going around it. I want to keep it nice and clean, so I'm going to get rid of the border and go with no line. So this is the shape, this is what I want it to look like. So I'm going to copy that, select the entire series and paste it. Now of course I've now destroyed the colour scheme that I've just put in place. All I'm going to do at the moment is change that back to the colour that we were in before. And now what's happened? You can see straight away it's squared off the edges again because I've destroyed the fact that the shape is there. So what I actually need to do is change the colour of the shape to that and just paste it on just that one bar. Okay? Right. I'm now going to do the same on this one. So I'll change that colour to the dark yellow that I want. Copy and paste that onto just that one. Now, if we want to make this chart look exactly how I did before, I repositioned get hold of the legend properly. I had the legend up in the corner here and I squared it off to something looking a bit like that. Make that a little bit bigger now. Unfortunately, it doesn't center it for me. But there we go. So there we have it. A very good looking sales and profit chart. If you do want to put that into a PowerPoint presentation, for example, you can, by highlighting it, drop down on the copy, you can copy it as a picture and then you can put it into anything you like. So you don't need the underlying data. If I copy that as a picture, for example, I can show it as I want on screen. So I'll do that for a start. I can then paste that anywhere I want, and it's basically just a picture that I can resize without any kind of problem. Incidentally, resizing this does create kind of issues because fonts don't resize with it. So I'll undo that. And as one kind of final bonus, you can, of course, then save this as a template by right-clicking, save as a template. Going to call this chart 3 and save it. And now I can, if I make this chart here, this is our original chart, I can just go to the design of it, select the chart type, go on my templates, pick the one I want, okay, and then we're basically there. We just need to play around, but we've pretty much got the standard format set up and running, and let's get that out of the way, and we'll be able to get to this position in far quicker time than we possibly could have otherwise. So there's your 7 tips on improving chart appearance in Excel. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let's hope you find it useful, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.